Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
These files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden
Seriously?
Yeah. I'm Enigma and I'm a qualified body language analyst and private investigator. And in today's video, I'll be analysing President Trump's body language to hopefully expose the truth about the sudden cover-up of the Epstein files. Let's take a look.
Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job, and I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also, but I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important, and you want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the Attorney General has handled it very well.
How many more states? The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed.
This video was released yesterday as of recording, and I'm going to cover it first as it's honestly one of the craziest videos that I've ever seen from Trump. Trump is doing what's called a lip press here, which is a form of emotional suppression, which is being triggered by the stress generated by their line of questioning regarding Epstein. He presses his tongue to his lips as a way of inhibiting his emotional expression, which effectively masks his discomfort.
On what? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
Review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden,
I don't say this lightly. He's lying here. I almost never accuse someone of blatantly lying based on their nonverbals alone. However, I am near certain of it here. Lying increases strain on the prefrontal cortex, generating cognitive load. And we see an extreme and sudden spike in behaviours linked to cognitive load abruptly when he says that the Epstein list was made up by Obama. It's a total lie, and he knows it. When people lie, their cognitive load increases as they firstly have to process the reactions of the listener, adjusting the story in real time, whilst also remembering what they have previously said to make sure their story is consistent. It is so blatantly a lie here.
They were made up by Obama. They were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
After he expresses signs of cognitive load, he instantly starts to express consciously controlled gestures, which stop immediately after he gets his train of thought back under control. These gestures are compensatory mechanisms that redirect the attention of the viewer away from the cognitive disruption. He knows that he slipped up, and does this to try and distract us from it. I've never really seen him fumble like this before, and it's especially strange given that he's talked so comfortably about the Epstein case during the election campaign. This next video was recorded at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida, which was and still is a place for the incredibly wealthy and influential to hang out. And that's actually how Trump became aware of Epstein. Trump is displaying very open nonverbals, gesturing freely, and Epstein appears to be relaxed. Let's see how this changes when they start interacting. So Epstein does something really interesting here. He does what's called the self-hug and wraps his arms around his torso. This is a self-soothing behavior that helps reduce his physiological arousal. It's clear that speaking with Trump, for some reason, causes him an elevated stress level. There is so much going on here in such a short space of time. Epstein is blatantly avoiding eye contact with Trump here, which is very unusual, especially given Trump's status, and this behaviour is likely a deliberate and calculated sign of disrespect. Epstein knows that he's on camera, and by blanking Trump, he makes himself appear more important. This power play is one of the telltale signs of narcissistic personality disorder. Trump realizes that he's ignoring him, so turns his attention to the other guy. I get the impression that they are just acquaintances here, as Epstein would be less inclined to do this sort of power play with someone he regarded as a close associate. However, I could be wrong.
Anybody else?
Jeffrey Epstein is a terrific guy.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. I mean, people in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
So Trump repeats himself here, saying Palm Beach multiple times when asked why he said Epstein was a terrific guy, and at the same time changes his proxemics by rapidly moving his body side to side. This is known as a self-soothing behaviour, and happens in response to a sudden spike in stress, and in Trump's case it fades quickly, suggesting it was a brief but noticeable emotional disturbance.
I was not, a long time ago, I'd say maybe 15 years. I was not a fan of his, that I can tell you. I was not a fan of his. So I feel very badly, actually, for Secretary Acosta.
So Trump licks his lips when responding to the journalist, which is categorized as a pacifying behavior. He's doing it in an attempt to calm down, but as it's super brief, it shows that his conscience is trying to suppress it and regain composure. So it would also be categorized as a non-verbal leak. He's doing his best to hide his feelings of anxiety, and it's only natural as this topic is extremely sensitive given the severity of Epstein's crimes. Trump actually banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago in 2007 because of his inappropriate behavior towards the young female staff.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of his death?
Yeah, sure. If
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years.
Okay, so Trump's nonverbals are extremely deliberate here. He's putting on an act. And the reason we can tell this is because he does what's called a hesitation pause before speaking. This occurs as he experiences an increased cognitive load trying to process an answer. This also reveals to us that he had a strong emotional reaction to the question, as he interrupted before he even knew what he would be saying. This also hints at something else. Trump hasn't been briefed on this. He doesn't have a prepared response to the Epstein situation, which I find really strange. Whatever's going on with the sudden U-turn, Trump never saw it coming until super recently, which is just very strange.
You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy.
Trump does what's called the smile mask here, which is a method of emotional masking, with the smile functioning as a socially acceptable outlet to hide his true feelings, concealing the emotional arousal triggered by the Epstein topic. Something serious is going on here, and from what I've seen today, I think that something has been uncovered very recently, and has forced Trump to turn 180 on the Epstein case. He actively campaigned on a ticket of releasing the Epstein files, so something pretty big must have happened since the election to cause him to suddenly try and cover it up and blame it on the Democrats. Either Trump is exposing the Epstein files, or he's being pressured to drop the whole thing by a hidden and powerful group or entity. Both are just as scary, and I think this runs a lot deeper than anyone can imagine.